You don't just walk away from years of narcissistic abuse untouched. You crawl out, bruised, confused, and unsure if you even know who you are anymore. If you're here, chances are you've endured emotional warfare masked as love. You're not alone. And this space is a judgment-free zone where your pain is valid, your healing is sacred, and your truth is honored. Today, we are diving deep into how it really feels after years of narcissistic abuse from both a psychological and spiritual lens. This isn't just a list of symptoms. This is your story. This is my story. This is our story spoken out loud. And if you ask me, one word that I'll use to discuss how I felt after narcissistic abuse is exhausted. By the way, my name is Iyabo Oyawale and I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor. And on this channel, I share biblical wisdom for dealing with the scourge, the pain, and the mess of narcissistic abuse. And if you're serious about healing from narcissistic abuse, you're going to hit the subscribe button right away in order for you to become a member of this strong and supportive community. Thank you if you just did that. So what is the psychological fallout of years of abuse? Let's begin with the psychological aftermath. The first is emotional numbness and dissociation. You may feel like a shell of yourself, functioning but not feeling. That's your brain protecting you. Years of gaslighting train you to distrust your own emotions. So your mind builds walls and you end up dissociating to survive. But you are out of the abuse and still dissociating. This is a cause of it. But you can heal, just as I'm healing. Secondly, you experience chronic anxiety and hypervigilance. You manifest chronic anxiety and hypervigilance. Now, the narcissist taught you to walk on eggshells because your voice couldn't be heard. You had to shut down. You had to suppress your emotions. And so your nervous system is wired for threat detection. Loud voices, unexpected messages, a shift in someone's tone, it all feels like danger to your brain. And it has taken years for you to get there, but you can heal through the grace of God and through taking certain practical steps. A third thing that you're going to manifest after years of abuse is guilt and shame. Even after you leave, you hear the voice in your head. You hear the voice of the abuser in your head. You're too sensitive, he or she used to say, and so you keep on hearing it even after years of abuse. It's your fault, and you keep on hearing it even after years of abuse. And so shame lingers like smoke after a house fire, choking, invisible, everywhere. You've left the environment, but the voice is still lingering in your mind, lingering in your brain. The fourth thing that you manifest after years of abuse is identity confusion. You spent years being whoever they needed you to be. Now you look at the mirror and ask, who am I without them? You've lost yourself, just as I lost myself after over 20 years of abuse. I lost myself totally. I could no longer recognize myself when I finally left. Now the fifth thing that you manifest after abuse is trauma bond withdrawal. You might still miss them. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means the trauma bond is real. And trauma bond is an addiction wired into your brain that confuses abuse with affection. And so don't feel weird for missing them. Is the trauma bond. But we got a video on the trauma bond and I'll link to it in the description for you to heal from it. And now let me quickly talk about my birthday masterclass. June is my birthday to the glory of God, and I'm offering a masterclass on boundary setting, how to set boundaries that work, 5 common mistakes that survivors make when setting boundaries with narcissists. You can join the class by going to iyaboyale.com/masterclass. Now let's talk about the spiritual costs of years of abuse, the ache in your soul that psychology alone can't touch. The first one is feeling spiritually abandoned. You might wonder, where was God when I was being torn apart? It's okay to ask. I also asked that question. And even Jesus asked why he was forsaken on the cross. Spiritual abuse and narcissistic control often come hand in hand, especially if scripture was used to silence you. And so questions will arise, but don't you worry. God is not perturbed about your honesty, the emotions you're feeling. Yes, he welcomes you to come to him with those emotions. The second thing you're going to feel is losing your connection to self and God. Now, when someone plays God in your life for years, you forget how to hear the real one. And so the narcissist wants to be the Lord and Master of your life. And so you are listening to the narcissist and forgotten how to even hear God. You may struggle to pray. Been there, done that. You may struggle to trust. You may struggle to surrender again. The third thing you're going to experience is deep soul weariness. You're tired, not just physically. You are exhausted, not just physically, but so deep. Your energy has been siphoned by a person who fed on your light. It's a spiritual fatigue. It's a spiritual fatigue that no nap can cure. Sleeping won't cure it. Now, the fourth thing is questioning your worth. After years of abuse, you question your worth because the narcissist made you feel small. He made you feel invisible, made you feel disposable. But God never saw you that way. You are not what they said. You are what he says. And he says you're chosen. He says you're beloved. He says you're redeemed. And you're what God says you are. I always say it on this channel that you are who God says you are. And so don't forget that this Saturday, 12 noon WAT, we're going to have a live, Oyawale live, where we're going to talk about the number one tactic of Christian narcissists, what they use to abuse. And so it's going to be an explosive session. Do join us here. But here's what the narcissists never expected. They never expected that after all the hell, you'll wake up. They never expected that you'd see the patterns. They never expected that you'd start asking questions. They never expected that you'd stop begging for crumbs. They never expected that you'd begin rebuilding, just as I have done, and I'm sharing my testimony on this channel. They never expected that you would allow the situation to cause your spiritual awakening. By the way, we got a video on narcissistic abuse and spiritual awakening, and I'll link to it in the description. And healing doesn't come just like that. Healing requires for you to be honest and reclaiming your power, one painful truth at a time. And from a psychological perspective, that is neuroplasticity at work. Your brain is learning to feel safe again. Your nervous system is slowly relaxing into trust. And from a spiritual lens, that's resurrection. The old version of you died in that relationship. But something more sacred is rising from the ashes, and God is at work in you only if you will surrender totally into the hands of the potter, because you are the clay and he is the potter. Don't also forget that I've got a free ebook for immediate download. You can send the word hacks in the comments to get it. The ebook is titled Reclaiming You, 11 Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Hacks to Reclaim Your Life and Your Power. It contains the exact 11 things I did to quit narcissistic abuse and thrive. And so get a copy. Now, what do you need to hear right now? What do you need to hear right now? If no one has told you this, let me be the first person to say it. You did not deserve the abuse. Nope. You are not the cause of the abuse. You are not crazy either. And you are not broken beyond repair. You are not too much. You are not too emotional or too weak. You were targeted because of your light, not because you lacked it. You have light, and that is why you were targeted by the narcissist. And it takes incredible strength to survive narcissistic abuse. Been there, done that, and I can tell you it's been a war to get to where I am. But it takes even more courage to heal. And healing, it's not linear. And I've got a video on that healing isn't linear. It takes courage. It takes intentionality, and I'll link to it in the description. It's sacred. Healing is sacred. Healing is a holy process of learning how to be loved again, starting with yourself. It takes intentionality. It takes courage. It takes a lot of strength to heal. It's not yet uhuru after escaping a narcissistic relationship. It is then the real work begins. And I can tell you, I've been on this healing journey since 2015 when the emotional crisis broke me open. And I tell you, you watching me, you will cry at odd moments. You'll miss them even though they were poison. You'll grieve the version of yourself that tolerated too much. But each step forward is you reclaiming your voice, you reclaiming your spirit, you reclaiming your sanity. And I tell you, it will be a better version of you, even though it's hard. By the way, I've got a video on how I train my brain to do hard things and how you can too. I'll link to it in the description as well. And don't forget that I've got a paid workbook on 51 lifestyle changes to escape narcissistic abuse and thrive. It's the kind of resource I wish I had in the thick of my narcissistic abuse, but I never had it, and so I created it to help my fellow survivors like you watching me. It's predicated upon the fact that hope does not lie in our situation changing, but real hope lies in us allowing the situation to change us. I'll drop a link in the description so you can check it out. But I tell you, it's a powerful workbook that comes with journaling prompts, reflection prompts, prayers for every lifestyle change, because lifestyle changes have brought me to where I am today. And people who knew me back then cannot reconcile the new me with the old me. And if you make these lifestyle changes, I tell you, you're going to grow beyond your own imagination. And if you are still in the thick of narcissistic abuse, I want you to know that you are not alone, and don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God. And if you've walked away, keep going. And if you've just woken up, welcome to the beginning. Psychologically, you're rewiring your mind. Spiritually, you're being restored. Everything that was stolen from you by the narcissist is being taken back. And your healing is holy. Your journey is valid. And your comeback story, it's going to be divine, just like my own story is divine. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment and share your truth. Someone else needs to hear it. And if you're ready for more spiritual and psychological tools for healing, subscribe. We are healing out loud here. And so there are links in the description for you to check out. And also always check out our community page, because I constantly post updates you can benefit from. And also, remember to share this video. I know you've been sharing. Continue to share. Thank you so much for the support. And also like this video, because when you do, you're telling YouTube the kind of content to recommend to you. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in my next.